What is up, guys? Welcome back to Between the Pylons. I'm John Camacho. Thank you so much for watching. And today I am talking about the Ravens draft class. The 2020 draft review is here for the Baltimore Ravens. And guys, I'm not going to bury the lead here. I'm going to tell you right up front, this is an A+ draft for me. This is the highest grade that I've given so far while doing these videos. I absolutely love what the Ravens did here, and I'm going to get into all that. Before I do want to talk about a couple of guidelines that I have for the draft, and let's see what they did here. Did they come in with a plan? And to me, they absolutely did. They did what the Ravens always do, best available player. And that's just based on the fact that I think they took players that weren't really a huge need for them. I think they took players that maybe were at certain times. They really just took the best available player. And I'll be honest with you guys, it matches what my board would have been. They're pretty close because I am in love with a lot of the picks they made, with a lot of the decisions they made in this draft process. And I want to get to that really quick. But before I do, did they draft an offensive lineman in the first 4 rounds? There is no such thing as a bad team with a good offensive line. So I like to see that from every single team. And they absolutely did. They did it twice. They took out an offensive lineman in the 3rd and 4th round, which is awesome. Just consistently adding depth to that offensive line is so important. The Ravens are so good at that. The Ravens are actually one of the teams that I looked at when creating these guidelines. So of course the Ravens did it. And then lastly, did they grab a strength of the draft, right? So the strength of the draft, of course, is wide receiver. Did they take a wide receiver at some point in the draft? It can be 7th round, it can be 1st round, or anywhere in between. But did they get a piece of the strength of the draft? And for the Ravens, they absolutely did. Got one of my favorite players, actually. So I'm really excited to talk about that. But let's get to the actual draft picks. And what I do is I talk about the guys that were drafted within the first 3 rounds of the draft, because I feel like that's where you're getting the impact players. And it's the Ravens. I mean, it's just the rich getting richer, because they came into this draft with 5 picks in the first 3 rounds, 9 picks total, and they left the draft with 6 picks in the first 3 rounds and 9 picks total. So you have to love what they did from a trading standpoint and a positional value standpoint. I'm going to get into that later on in this video. This is going to be a little bit of a long one because there's so much to talk about with the Ravens, but I'm going to get started with their actual draft picks here. With their very first pick, they take number 28 overall, Patrick Queen out of LSU, and I'm going to say this a lot as well. I'm just warning you guys right now. I do have a draft profile on Patrick Queen that you can go check out, one of the last ones that I made on this channel before the draft. I am in love with this player as my number 2 linebacker in this class. I thought it was crazy that Kenneth Murray went ahead of him. That's fine. They were close, I guess, but I mean, Patrick Queen is the clear-cut number 2 linebacker in this class, and they just got a hell of a pickup. And it's just, man, he had no business falling to 28 overall. And of course, the Ravens do this every single year. They get the best available player, and I think it's kind of cool. Also, the Ravens had never drafted a player out of LSU, and that ended today with Patrick Queen. So great pick. And with their second pick of the draft in the 2nd round, man, they take my favorite running back in the class. And again, you can check out the draft profile that I have on J.K. Dobbins if you're interested, and I do go into detail on him. I think he's the best running back in this class, and that's just insane value at number 55 overall. I love what the Ravens did here. Just add a running back that I feel like comes in and is the best running back on your team, on a team that already had a lot of really good running backs. And I feel like the Ravens always play the running back positions the right way. They never really pay their running backs, but they consistently keep a young group of stable running backs. Of course, they do have Mark Ingram, but they didn't pay him out the ass. That was kind of a later end of his career type of deal. So all in all, I think the Ravens are doing a really good things with the running back position, and they just made the best running team in the league that much better, which is insane. And then moving on with their first selection in the 3rd round, their first of 4 third-round picks, they take Justin Matabuki out of Texas A&M. I hope I'm saying that name right, with the number 71st overall selection. And they take a guy who's a little bit of a tweener to me. I'm not exactly sure where he's going to play, but he's just one of those guys that falls into the category of good at football. Like, I'm not sure that the measurables are all there. I'm not sure that you fall in love with certain aspects of his game, but at the end of the day, he's just a really good football player, quick first step, has a knack for getting to the football, and he's an excellent option to help fill out the defensive line. I don't think he's a guy that you draft to be the premier D tackle, but in the third round, that's not what you're really expecting. But I do think he's a starter, and he comes into a front seven that's already really good. And I think he's another guy. And I know I said running back stable with the J.K. Dobbins pick. I think it's very similar. I think it's a defensive lineman stable for the Ravens. They add another guy who's going to be really good in that very multiple defense where they do a lot of different things. So I'm pretty excited about that pick as well. I think they made a good decision here. And then with the second pick in the third round, they take Devin Duvernay, wide receiver out of Texas. And this is where I just fell in love with this draft. Like right here, they don't need another draft pick, and I'm done. I am so happy. So Devin Duvernay, he is a speedster who only dropped one pass in college his entire year. He fell, I expected him to go in the third or fourth round, so this is about the range. I valued him higher than that, but I do understand that the NFL probably didn't. I had him as a top 10 player in this class, so I was really excited for Devin Duvernay, and I just imagine this, guys. Imagine the Ravens in pistol formation with Hollywood Brown on the left, out wide on the left, with Devin Duvernay out wide on the right. You just have speed, because Devin Duvernay is a sub 4.4 guy. Marquise Brown was drafted in the first round because he's really, really fast. And then imagine J.K. Dobbins on the right side, and then Mark Andrews right here on the left with Mark Ingram behind you. I don't know how you defend that. I really don't. You have the option to run it with J.K. Dobbins. You have the option to run it with Mark Ingram. You have the option to throw it or run it with Mark Andrews, who's also going to be able to block if you decide to run the ball. And if you're thinking, oh, well, you just load the box up, right? Well, no, you have two sub 4.4 guys on the outside that are going to blow by your corner probably. So you have to have two corners that can legit handle that kind of speed, and then a safety back there that can also handle that kind of speed. You have to have a defense that can handle not only the speed of Lamar Miller if he decides to run, but also the power of a J.K. Dobbins or a Mark Ingram, both of which have some speed too. They're both home run hitting players that also play with a lot of power and run with a lot of power. And then, oh wait, yeah, if none of that works out, all three of those running backs can go out, the two of the running backs and the tight end can all go out for routes, and they can just kill you in the pass game too. So you can't just load up and have heavy sets that can't cover at all, because Mark Andrews is a legit receiver. J.K. Dobbins can catch very well in the backfield, and we all know what Mark Ingram can do. Yes, he's a power running back, but he can catch the ball as well. Man, there's just so many options there. I don't know how you defend it. I didn't even talk about Lamar Jackson running with the ball. I think they're really close to being the best offense in the NFL, and that's with Mahomes and the Legion of Zoom in the exact same conference. Man, that's tough. I don't know. I really don't know, because the Ravens are no longer the type of team where if you get ahead, they no longer can just run the ball and control the game. No, they have legit weapons. They have a legit way. They can play from behind. They can play in a shootout. I mean, they can play any style of football you want to. Yes, they want to be a power running team, but man, I think they can do a lot of different things. And with Devin Duvernay, I believe in him. That's part of it. He fell to the third round, and maybe I'm getting too excited about a third round pick, but I really believe in him. I love the upside of J.K. Dobbins. I love this offense so much. And then it's like they did my favorite thing where they took a couple guards in the mid range. They took a guard in the third round, which I'm going to talk about, and then also in the fourth round. So it's like they reloaded. I mean, they didn't even lose anybody, but they reloaded on offense, and it's going to be scary. I mean, the rest of the NFL should be on notice, because I think they really changed their fortunes this year. I think they put themselves over the top into that Super Bowl run. I really believe that. But I'm not even done talking about all the players they got. With their third selection in the third round, pick number 98 overall, they take a linebacker who fits the Patriots scheme, stand-up linebacker out of Ohio State, Malik Harrison. He's a downhill hitter. He's not the fastest guy in the world. I don't have his 40 time up right now. I want to say it was like a 4.61, 4.66, somewhere in that ballpark. But he's not the fastest guy. he's fast enough to play linebacker, and I think you can use him in a lot of different ways in that, and he's definitely going to be used more with the run stuffing ability that he has. But again, he plays with power and ferociousness, and I would be really excited for him to be a Raven because that team has a history of very, very good linebackers that play the same kind of style that he's going to want to play. And with the last pick in the third round, number 106 for the Ravens, they do take Tyree Phillips, guard out of Mississippi State, and just a guy that has a great frame. He's probably a better run blocker than pass protection, but I mean, that's kind of what you want out of him. And I feel like he's in a perfect situation where he's not going to have to start right away, so he's going to be able to learn and get better in pass protection sets. And if he is thrown into the lineup, I mean, he's a mauler, man. He's a bruiser. He's a guy who's going to be able to handle that power running scheme that the Ravens employ. All right, guys, I do want to talk about a couple of the draft day moves that the Ravens made. In the second round, they actually decided to move back with the Patriots. The Patriots sent their 2 third-round picks, so that was number 71 and 98, to the Patriots in exchange for their second and fourth round pick. And to me, for the Ravens, I feel like this was kind of an even trade. I think I like it a little bit more for the Patriots just because they got the higher pick. But I mean, the Ravens got 2 third round picks in exchange for a second and a fourth. That evens out to me as far as value goes. Yeah, they gave up the second, but if they didn't see anybody that they were really in love with that pick, I have no problem with them moving back and getting a couple extra assets in that third round, where I do, probably value obviously more than the 129th pick, which they gave up to the Patriots. So I think that was a good deal for both sides. That's kind of a wash for me. I don't have any issue with that either way. And the other trade that they made was in the 6th round, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. But they did trade up into the 6th round to secure James Prochet out of SMU, who I'm actually a big fan of, and my co-host on the podcast, Jacob, is a huge fan of this guy. He thinks he's going to be really, really good. And again, just another weapon to add to that Ravens unit. They traded up in the 6th round. They received a 7th round pick and gave up a 5th round pick next year. So I don't love that as far as value. Essentially, you're swapping 6th round picks and trading 5th round pick for a 7th round pick. I don't love the value there, especially in the later rounds here. Why give up a 5th round pick next year? But again, that's very nitpicky. Who really cares at the end of the day? As far as my favorite move in this draft for the Ravens, is pretty obvious, right? It's a tie between the J.K. Dobbins and the Devin Duvernay trade. Both guys that I absolutely loved. Both guys that you can see me talk about before the draft about how much I thought they were going to be impactful in the NFL, and both guys that I think went to a spot where they're going to be very impactful in the NFL right away. I think they're going to help their team really make a Super Bowl run this year. I really believe that. That's how excited I am about this draft class and the Ravens moving forward. I really believe that. As far as my least favorite move, I'm going to be very nitpicky here, and I'm going to say neither of the draft day trades they made were really positive in my opinion. They weren't ideal trades. I'm not going to get upset about the moves that they made, but I didn't think they were ideal by any means. I didn't think they were ideal by any means. And the biggest surprise was taking J.K. Dobbins in the 2nd round, just because they didn't need running back. And I think that truly just speaks to the fact that they throw their needs out the window and they say, hey, we're going to draft best available. Now that's pretty easy to do when you're picking 28th in the 1st round. You were one of the top 5 teams in the NFL last year, so there's not a ton of needs, and you have to believe that with the amount of picks they have, just take best available player and things are going to work out, and they did in a big way for this team. But all right, guys, I did not bury the lead. I told you at the very beginning what the grade was. This is an A+. I think they had an awesome draft class. I'm super excited for the players that they got and to see how they evolve in this Ravens team, especially the offensive weapons that they added. I just could not be more excited about it. But all right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe and check back for more videos. I'm going to have a lot more post-draft content coming out, as well as fantasy football and gambling and everything else that has to do around the world of football. I'm going to have videos for you guys, so please check them all out. And let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let me know what you thought about this draft class or any other thoughts that you might have regarding the Ravens and football in general. I'd love to hear your thoughts. All right, guys. Peace.